Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our creepy stories. Today, we're diving into a chilling tale from the gritty underbelly of Chicago. This one's called Beneath the Chicago Sewers, and trust me, it's gonna make you think twice about what's lurking under the city streets. Picture this: a lone sewer worker, a maze of dark tunnels, and something not human waiting in the shadows. Grab a snack, dim the lights, and let's get into it. My name's Jake Malone, and I'm a sewer worker for the city of Chicago. Been at it for 10 years, crawling through the muck under the loop, fixing pipes, clearing blockages, you name it. It's dirty work, but it pays the bills, and I'm good at it. Most nights it's just me, my Carhartt jacket, a headlamp, and a steel pry bar, wading through knee-deep sludge while the city sleeps above. November 2025 was no different until it was. That night, a big storm had rolled through, dumping rain like it was trying to drown Chicago. The sewers were a mess, flooding faster than we could handle. My boss, Ray, called me at 9 p.m., his voice crackling over my beat-up phone. "Jake, we got a problem in the loop. Old section near Wabash, Tunnel C19. Folks are hearing weird noises down there. Check it out, clear any blockages, and get back before you're swimming." "Weird noises," I said, already pulling on my boots. "What, like rats?" Ray laughed, but it was tight, nervous. "Dunno, man, just be careful. And don't tell me you're buying into that sewer folk crap." I snorted. Sewer folksome, urban legend the old-timers loved to scare rookies with. Said there were creatures down there, leftovers from some World War II experiment gone wrong. Living in the tunnels since the 40s, I didn't buy it. Rats, sure, hobos maybe, but monsters, nah. Still, I grabbed my Motorola walkie-talkie, clipped my headlamp to my hard hat, and stuffed a half-eaten Italian beef sandwich in my bag. Chicago staples, you know. The manhole on Wabash was slick with rain when I got there, the city's neon lights reflecting in puddles. I popped the cover, the metal screeching, and climbed down the ladder, my boots splashing into cold, murky water. The tunnel smelled like it always did, rotten eggs, wet concrete, and something sour I never could place. My headlamp cut through the dark, showing slimy walls and pipes dripping with who knows what. The water was higher than usual, lapping at my thighs, and the sound of it rushing echoed like a bad omen. "All right, Jake, just another night," I muttered, my voice bouncing off the walls. I switched on the walkie, static hissing. "Ray, you there?" "I'm in C19. No answer, just more static. I frowned, smacking the walkie against my palm. Piece of junk. Probably the storm messing with the signal. I clipped it back to my belt and waded forward, the pry bar slung over my shoulder. The tunnel stretched on, a concrete maze older than my grandpa, built when Chicago was still figuring out how to keep the lake from swallowing it. About 100 yards in, I hit the blockager pile of trash, branches, and plastic bags clogging. A great, typical storm junk. But something else caught my eye, half buried in the muck, a bone. Big, like a femur, but not quite right, too long, too thin, with weird carvings etched into it, like spirals and jagged lines. I crouched, my headlamp glinting off it. "What the hell?" I said, reaching out. It wasn't animal, not with those marks. Human, no way. My gut twisted, but I told myself it was just some art project washed down here. The second my fingers brushed the bone, the water around me rippled, like something big had moved nearby. I froze, my heart kicking up a notch. My headlamp flickered, just for a second, and a low, rumbling growl echoed down the tunnel. Not water, not pipes, something alive. I yanked my hand back, the bone sinking into the sludge, and swung my light around. Nothing but shadows and dripping walls. "Get a grip, Jake," I whispered, my breath fogging in the cold. Then I heard it, a faint, raspy sound, like someone breathing, coming from deeper in the tunnel. Not the steady rush of water, but slow, deliberate, in and out. My headlamp caught a ripple in the water, moving against the current, and for a split second, I swore I saw something, a dark shape, long and sleek, slipping under the surface. Stood there, my boots rooted in the muck, the pry bar heavy in my hands, waiting for the sound to come again. The breathing stopped, but the tunnel wasn't quiet anymore. A new noise started, soft at first, then louder, rhythmic scraping, like claws dragging across concrete, getting closer with every second. The scraping sound was getting louder, closer, like nails dragging across concrete. I stood frozen in the Chicago sewer, thigh-deep in cold, murky water, my headlamp flickering like it was about to die. My heart was pounding, my breath fogging. In the chilly air, the tunnel stretched into darkness, the slimy walls barely visible in my shaky light. That bone I'd found long carved with weird symbols was still fresh in my mind, and whatever made that growl earlier wasn't far. The breathing I'd heard had stopped, but this new noise, this scraping, was way worse. It wasn't pipes settling or water rushing. Something was coming. "All right, Jake, keep it together," I muttered, gripping my pry bar so tight my knuckles ached. My headlamp flickered again, the beam cutting in and out. I smacked it, cursing under my breath. "Come on, you piece of junk." The light steadied, but it was weaker now, barely pushing back the dark. I swung the beam around, scanning the tunnel. Nothing but water, rusted pipes, and graffiti, some gang tags, a faded Cubs rule scrawled in spray paint. Chicago through and through. Then I saw Etah ripple in the water, moving fast, heading straight for me. My gut twisted, and I backed up, my boots slipping in the sludge. The scraping stopped, sudden, and the tunnel went dead quiet except for the drip-drip of leaks. I held my breath, waiting, the pry bar raised like it could do anything against whatever was out there. My walkie crackled, static hissing, then a voice not raise, not anyone I knew, whispered, "Deeper, Jake, come deeper." "What the hell?" I said, my voice echoing. I yanked the walkie off my belt, staring at it. The screen was dark, battery dead, but it crackled again, the same voice, low and raspy, like it was right next to me. "Go away," I snapped, shoving it back on my belt. No way I was falling for some prank. But my hands were shaking, and the air felt heavier, like the tunnel was closing in. I turned to head back to the manhole, but something caught my light, a glint in the water, half buried in the muck. I crouched, keeping one eye on the tunnel, and fished it out. It was a hardette, scratched up, with Eddie written on the side in Sharpie. My stomach dropped. Eddie Torres, a guy from the crew, went missing last month. They said he'd quit, but his wife swore he'd never leave without telling her. The hat had deep claw marks, like something had tried to rip it apart. "Eddie," I whispered, like he'd answer. The tunnel answered instead, a low growl, same as before, but closer, coming from the direction I needed to go. I stuffed the hat in my bag, my heart racing. No way I was sticking around to find out what got him. I started wading back, fast as I could, the water splashing around my knees. The scraping started again, behind me now, and my headlamp flickered. Worse, plunging me into darkness for a split second. I stopped, swinging the light around, and that's when I saw it. On the wall, maybe 20 feet away, something was moving tall, skinny, clinging to the concrete like a spider. Its skin was grey, slick, catching the light like wet leather. 2 red eyes glowed in my beam, and its mouth was. Wide, full of needle-like teeth. It hissed, a sound that made my skin crawl, and scuttled forward, its claws scraping the wall. "No way, man," I yelled, my voice bouncing off the walls. I swung my pry bar, not aiming, just hoping to scare. The bar hit the wall, sparks flying, and the thing screeched, diving into the water with a splash. The ripple shot toward me, fast, and I turned, running as hard as I could, the water slowing me down. My headlamp was dying, the beam bouncing wildly, and the scraping was everywhere now, like there was more than one. I spotted a side tunnel. Narrow, not on any map I knew. It was a risk could be a dead end, but the thing was gaining, its claws splashing behind me. I dove in, the tunnel barely wide enough for my shoulders, the water shallower but colder, stinging my skin. My pry bar clanged against the walls as I ran, my breath coming in gasps. The side tunnel sloped upward, the air getting mustier, like I was heading somewhere older, forgotten. I stopped to catch my breath, leaning against the wall, my headlamp flickering so bad I could barely see. The scraping was fainter now, but not gone, and the water behind me rippled like something was still following. I pulled out my Zippo lighter, the one with Lisa engraved on it, my ex-wife's name. A reminder of the life I'd screwed up. The flame steadied my nerves, its warm light stronger than my dying headlamp. That's when I saw the wall in front of me, carved with the same spiral symbols as the bone, glowing faintly like they were alive. "Jake." The walkie crackled, even though it was dead. The voice was clearer now, not human, not anything I could place. "You can't run forever." I backed away, the lighter shaking in my hand, and the water surged behind me, a loud splash breaking. The silence. My headlamp died completely, leaving only the Zippo's flame, and in its glow I saw those red eyes again. Closer than before, staring right at me from the dark. The red eyes glowed in the flicker of my Zippo lighter, staring at me from the dark of the Chicago sewer tunnel. My heart was hammering, my breath short and sharp, the cold water soaking my boots. The side tunnel I'd ducked into was narrow, the walls slimy with muck, and my dead headlamp left me with nothing but the lighter's tiny flame. The air was thick, sour, like something had died down here a long time ago. Those eyes, same as the thing I'd seen crawling on the wall, weren't moving, just watching, and the scraping sound was back, faint but close. My pry bar was heavy in my other hand, but it felt useless against whatever this was. "No way you're getting me," I whispered, my voice barely steady. I held the Zippo higher, the flame trembling, and took a step back. The eyes blinked, slow, and a low hiss echoed, making my skin crawl. Then the water surged, a loud splash breaking the silence, and the eyes vanished, the ripple heading right for me. I turned and ran, the tunnel sloping upward, my boots slipping on the slick concrete. The Zippo's flame flickered, nearly going out, but I cupped it with my hand, praying it'd hold. The scraping followed, faster now, claws on stone, and I heard that breathing egg raspy, uneven, like it was tasting the air. My bag bounced against my hip, Eddie's scratched up hard at inside. A reminder of what happened to guys who got careless down here. I wasn't gonna be next. The tunnel widened, opening into a larger chamber, older than the main sewer line. The walls were rough, carved from stone, not concrete, like something from the 1800s when Chicago was just a swampy trading post. My Zippo's light caught weird carvings, spirals, and jagged lines, same as the bone I'd found. They glowed faintly, a sickly green, pulsing like they had a heartbeat. I stopped, catching my breath, my chest tight. This wasn't on any city map. Nobody built tunnels like this, not for sewage. Jake. The walkie crackled, even though its battery was long dead. That voice again, not human, not anything I could name, sent a chill down my spine. You're close now. I ripped the walkie off my belt and threw it into the water, the splash echoing. No way I was listening. To that thing, I swung the lighter around, scanning the chamber. Crates stamped City of Chicago -1942 were stacked in a corner, rotted and covered in mold. A rusty pipe leaked, dripping into a shallow pool that shimmered under the carving's glow. Then I saw it, on the ground near the crater. Small, waterlogged notebook, its leather cover cracked. I grabbed it, my hand shaking, and flipped it open. The pages were smeared, but the handwriting was clear, dated 1940, signed C. Reynolds, engineer. We found something under the city, it read. Not natural, not ours. They come out at night, drawn to light, to fear. The army sealed. It, but it's waking up. If you're reading this, get out. They're not just animals. They're older than us. My stomach dropped. Army sealed, what? I stuffed the notebook in my bag, next to Eddie's hard-at, and kept moving, the pry bar. Ready, the chamber had 3 exit stock tunnels leading who knows where. I picked the one with the least water, hoping it'd lead up. But before I could step inside, something moved in the pool behind me. I spun, holding the Zippo high. The water rippled, and a thing smaller than the red-eyed monster, but still. Wrong slithered out. It was like a worm, maybe 3 feet long, with a slick, black body and tiny, glowing eyes like embers. Its mouth opened, showing rows of needle teeth, and it hissed, dragging itself toward me on stubby legs. The slime it left behind sizzled, eating into the stone like acid. Hell no, I shouted, swinging the pry bar. It hit the thing's side, sending it skittering into the wall with a wet smack. The slime splashed, a drop hitting my boot, and I yelped as it burned through the leather, stinging my ankle. I stumbled back, the Zippo shaking, and saw more ripples in the pool. 2, 3, maybe more of those worm things, their eyes glinting in the dark. I ran into the tunnel, the carvings on the walls glowing brighter, lighting my way even as the Zippo flickered. The scraping was back, not just behind me but ahead, like the big one was circling around. My ankle throbbed, the burn spreading, and I could hear the worms slithering, their hisses mixing with the bigger creature's growl. The tunnel curved, the air getting colder, and I tripped over something, another bone, this one fresh, with bits of cloth stuck to it, like a work glove. I scrambled up, my lighter barely holding, and saw a faint light, a head knot, my Zippo, not the carvings, but something else, bluish, pulsing like the glow from the chamber. The tunnel opened into another room, bigger, with walls covered in those same carvings, now blazing green. In the center, a pile of debris pipes, crates, and more bones formed a kind of altar, and above it, the blue light came from a crack. In the ceiling, wide enough to show something moving inside. Something big. The growling stopped, replaced by a new sound: footsteps, heavy, splashing through the water behind me. I turned, the Zippo's flame shaking, and saw those red eyes. Again, but now there were more, dozens, glowing in the dark, coming from every tunnel leading into the room. Those red eyes, dozens of them, glowed in the dark, staring at me from every tunnel leading into the ancient chamber. My Zippo lighter's flame was all I had, its tiny glow shaking in my hand, barely pushing back the shadows of the Chicago sewer. The air was freezing, thick with the stench of rot and something sharper, like burnt metal. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, my ankle burning where that worm thing's slime had eaten through my boot. The carvings on the walls pulsed green, matching the blue light seeping from a crack in the ceiling where something big was moving, its shape blurry but wrong. The pile of bones and debris in the center of the room, some kind of creepy altar, made my skin crawl. I was surrounded, and the heavy footsteps splashing behind me meant the big one. The red-eyed monster was closing in. "No way, man, no way," I whispered, my voice barely audible over the hissing and growling filling the chamber. My pry bar was slick with sweat in my hand, and the notebook from that engineer, Reynolds, weighed heavy in my bag, its warning about night hunters screaming in my head. I wasn't just dealing with one freak, this was a pack, and they were hunting me. The footsteps stopped, but the eyes didn't blink, just stared, like they were waiting for me to make a move. I held the Zippo higher, the flame steadying a bit, and scanned for a way out. The tunnels were blocked by those eyes. But near the altar, I spotted a narrow gap in the wall, half hidden by a rusted pipe. It was tight, maybe too tight, but it was my only shot. I took a step, slow, keeping the pry bar raised, and the hissing got louder. The smaller worm things slithering closer, their ember-like eyes glinting. Then the blue light flared, bright, enough to make me squint, and a voice, not the walkies, not anything human, came from the crack above. "Jake," it said, low and hungry, like it knew me. "Stay." My stomach twisted, and for a second I swore I heard Lisa's voice mixed in my ex-wife, the one I'd let down. I shook my head, gripping the Zippo tighter. "You're not her," I muttered. That engineer's note said these things were old, smart. They'd mess with your head if you let them. I bolted for the gap, the chamber erupting in noise screeches, splashes, and that awful scraping as the big one moved. The worm things lunged, their slimy bodies splashing through the shallow water. I swung the pry bar, hitting one, its hiss turning to a shriek as it curled up. Another grazed my leg, its slime burning through my pants, and I gritted my teeth, the pain sharp but not stopping me. I dove into the gap, the stone scraping my shoulders, the Zippo's flame flickering but holding. The tunnel beyond was narrower, older, the walls rough and damp, carved with more of those glowing spirals. My ankle throbbed, my leg burned, but I kept moving, the lighter my only guide. The screeches faded, but the scraping didn't hit with following, slower but steady. Like the big one knew I couldn't run forever. I tripped over something, landing hard, the Zippo skittering across the stone. I grabbed it, the flame still alive, and saw what I'd tripped on. A glove, like the one Eddie wore, stained with dried blood. Fingerprints smeared on the wall, like someone had clawed their way through. "Damn it, Eddie," I said, my voice shaking. I stuffed the glove in my bag, next to his hard-et and the notebook. The tunnel sloped downward, the air getting colder. And I heard it again, that breathing, slow and heavy, coming from ahead now, not behind. I stopped, holding the Zippo out, its light catching a new chamber, smaller but just as old. The walls were covered in carvings, but these weren't spirals, they showed things. Tall and skinny with too many arms, eyes like fire, crawling over piles of bones. My gut churned. This wasn't just a sewer. This was their home. A splash behind me snapped me out of it. I turned, the lighter shaking, and saw the big one's shadow tall hunched, its red eyes glowing through the tunnel. I backed into the chamber, my boots slipping, and bumped into something soft. I spun, the Zippo's flame revealing a pile of rags, what I thought were rags. It was a body, or what was left of one, wearing a city worker's jacket, the name tag reading Martinez. Another missing guy from the crew, gone 6 months back. His face was gone, hollowed out, like something had eaten it. I gagged. Stumbling back, and the blue light flared again, brighter, coming from a crack in the chamber's floor this time. The carvings pulsed, and that voice whispered, "Jake, you're ours." I swung the Zippo, the flame roaring higher, and waved it at the tunnel where the big one was coming. The light hit its eyes, and it hissed, backing off, like the flame scared it. "Yeah, you don't like that, do you?" I said, my voice cracking but fierce. I scanned the chamber, spotting a rusted ladder leading up, maybe to another level. I ran for it, the pry bar clanging against the metal as I climbed, the Zippo in my teeth, its heat burning my lips. The ladder shook like something heavy was following, and I heard the worms slithering below, their hisses mixing with the big one's growl. At the top, I pushed through a grate tumbling into a new tunnel wider, with concrete walls, but still old, the air thick with dust. I slammed the grate shut, shoving the pry bar through it to lock it. But the blue light was here too, pulsing from a crack in the wall, bigger than before. The carvings were back, glowing, and the voice came again, louder, calling my name. "Jake, don't leave." This time, it wasn't just Lisa's voice, it was Eddie's, Martinez's, layered together, like they were trapped in that light. Before I could move, the grate buckled, the pry bar bending, and a new sound started, a deep, bone-rattling roar, not from the big one, but something bigger, its shadow filling the tunnel below. Eyes not red but white, glowing like headlights in the dark. The roar of the white-eyed creature shook the tunnel, its glowing eyes like headlights piercing the dark. I scrambled to my feet, my Zippo lighter's flame flickering in my shaking hand, the only thing keeping the shadows at bay in this Chicago sewer. My pry bar was wedged in the grate below, locking it shut, but the metal groaned, bending under the weight of whatever was climbing up. My ankle burned from the worm thing's slime, my leg stung where it had grazed my pants, and my heart was pounding so hard I could barely think. The blue light from the crack in the wall pulsed brighter, the carvings glowing green, and that voice layered, hungry, calling my name echoed in my head. "Jake, don't leave." "No way, you're not getting me," I muttered, my voice hoarse. I swung the Zippo around, the flame catching the tunnel's concrete walls, newer than the ancient chamber below, but still old, tagged with faded graffiti, "CTA sucks, Joey 89. The air was damp, heavy with the stench of sewage and that sharp, burnt metal smell that made my skin crawl. I needed to move, find a way up, out of this nightmare, but the roar behind me and the blue light ahead felt like a trap closing in. I ran, my boots splashing through shallow water, the Zippo's heat burning my fingers. The tunnel curved, sloping upward, and I heard it faint at first, like a rumble from the city above, the CTA train rattling through the loop. It was the first normal sound in hours, a lifeline. If I could find a manhole near a station, I'd be out. But the white-eyed thing's roar was closer, its footsteps heavy, shaking the tunnel, and the smaller worms' hisses trailed behind. Like a pack on my heels, I spotted something in the water-a-rusted can of spray paint, probably washed down from some street artist. I grabbed it, shaking it as I ran. It hissed, still pressurized. "Better than nothing," I said, tucking it in my bag next to Eddie's hard-et and the 1940s notebook. The tunnel widened, the walls smoother, and I saw a junction ahead too. Paths, one dark and quiet, the other glowing with that sickly blue light. The carvings pulsing like they were alive. The voice came again, louder, from the glowing path. "Jake, you can't run." This time it was Lisa's voice, clear as day, soft like when we were still married. My chest tightened. Memories of her leaving my drinking, my late nights in the sewers hitting like a punch. "You're not her," I growled, shaking it off. That notebook said these things fed on fear, on memories. I wasn't letting it mess with my head. But the blue light flared, and for a second I saw her Lisa standing at the junction, her dark hair wet, her eyes sad. "Jake, come back," she said, her voice breaking. I froze, the Zippo shaking, my throat tight. It wasn't real. It couldn't be. But she looked so solid, so close. I took a step, then stopped, remembering the notebook's warning. "Screw you," I said, turning away, but the image burned in my mind. Slowing me down, the roar snapped me out of it, so loud the tunnel shook, dust falling from the ceiling. I spun, holding the Zippo high, and saw it a white-eyed creature. Bigger than the red-eyed one, maybe 10 feet tall, its body twisted, like a mix of spider and man, with too many arms, each tipped with claws that glinted in the flame. Its eyes weren't just white, they glowed, casting beams like spotlights, and its mouth was a jagged slit, leaking blue light. "Hell no," I shouted, grabbing the spray paint. I shook it, aimed at the creature, and sprayed, the paint hissing. Out in a red cloud. I flicked the Zippo, tossing it toward the mist, and the air ignited, a quick burst of flame lighting up the tunnel. The creature screeched, rearing back, its eyes dimming for a second. I didn't wait, I ran, snatching the Zippo as it hit the ground. The flame still alive, and dove into the dark path. Away from the blue light. The tunnel was tighter, the walls rough, and the air colder, like I was going deeper, not up. My ankle throbbed, the slime's burn spreading, and I heard the worms slithering behind, their hisses mixing with the white-eyed thing's roar. I tripped, landing hard, and my bag spilled Dee Dee's hard-et the notebook, and a new find, a crumpled page, torn from another journal, stuffed in a crack in the wall. I grabbed it, the Zippo's light showing faded ink. Dated 1943, Army Project, codename Abyss. It read, "Opened a gate under the city. The core's alive, feeds on us. Sealed it, but not enough. They're still here." My gut churned. A gate, core. This was bigger than sewer folk stories. I shoved the page in my bag, scrambling up, but the blue light was back, seeping through the walls, and Lisa's voice returned, louder, desperate. "Jake, you left me." I clenched my fists, tears stinging my eyes. "Stop it," I yelled, my voice echoing. The Zippo flickered, and the carvings appeared, glowing green, showing those things tall, multi-armed, eating something that looked human. The tunnel ended at a massive chamber, bigger than the last, the floor flooded with knee-deep water. In the center, a stone slab pulsed with blue light, like a heart, covered in carvings that moved, writhing like snakes. The air hummed, vibrating in my chest, and the voice came from the slab, not Lisa's anymore, but deep, ancient. "Jake, touch it." I backed away, the Zippo shaking, but the water surged behind me, and the white-eyed creature's roar filled the chamber, its claws scraping the walls, closer than ever. The white-eyed creature's roar shook the ancient chamber, its glowing eyes cutting through the dark like knives. I stood knee-deep in cold, murky water. My Zippo lighter's flame trembling in my hand, the only thing holding back the shadows. Of the Chicago sewer, the stone slab in the scent of the Lee Bong tea, or whatever that 1943 journal page called, it pulsed with blue light, its carvings, writhing like living snakes. The air hummed, a low vibration that made my teeth ache. And the voice from the slab was louder now, deep and ancient, calling my name. "Jake, touch it." Behind me, the worms slithered closer, their ember-like eyes glinting, and the white-eyed monster's claws scraped the walls, its massive, twisted body blocking the tunnel I'd come from. My ankle burned from the slime, my legs stung, and my heart was racing so fast I could barely breathe. "No way, man," I said, my voice shaky but defiant. "I'm not your puppet." The Zippo's heat scorched my fingers, but I held it high, its flame flickering in the damp air. The chamber was huge, its carved walls showing those things tall, multi-armed, eating what looked like people. Green in the blue light, my bag heavy with Eddie's hard-at, the 1940s notebook, and that army page felt like a lifeline, but it didn't tell me how to get out of this. The voice kept calling, and for a second I heard Lisa, again my ex-wife, her soft voice begging, "Jake, help me." It wasn't her, I knew it, but it hurt, like a knife twisting in my chest. I backed away from the slab, my boots slipping. In the water, scanning for a way out. The chamber had two other tunnels, both dark, but the worms were crawling from one, their slimy bodies hissing, and the white-eyed thing was guarding the other, its claws glinting. I was trapped, and the slab's hum was getting louder, the blue light pulsing faster, like it was waking up. I remembered the army page, something about a gate and a core they couldn't seal. This slab had to be it, and touching. It was the last thing I'd do. The worms lunged, faster than before, their needle teeth snapping. I swung the Zippo, the flame flaring, and they hissed, curling back. But the slime they left burned the water, stinging my legs. The white-eyed creature roared again, stepping closer, its spotlight eyes blinding me. I stumbled, my back hitting. Something hard, not the wall, but a pile of debris near the slab. I turned, the Zippo's light catching a glint metal, half buried in the muck. I dug, my hands shaking, and pulled out a rusted grenade, old, like something from World War II. Next to it was a body, another city worker, his jacket torn, name tag, reading Carver. His hand was still curled around the grenade, like he'd planned to use it but never got the chance. "Carver, you legend," I whispered, my voice cracking. The grenade was heavy, its pin intact, but it looked ancient, maybe, too old to work, maybe a dud. The army page flashed in my mind. They'd sealed the gate, but not enough. If this was the core, blowing it might shut this nightmare down, but the worms were closing in, and the white-eyed thing was almost on me. Its claws raised, blue light leaking from its jagged mouth. The voice from the slab hit me again, louder, like it was inside my head. "Jake, you can't leave her." Lisa's face appeared in the blue light, not just a voice, now she was there, floating above the slab, her eyes wet with tears. "You left me, Jake. Don't leave me again." My throat tightened. Memories of our fights, my drinking, her walking out, flooding back. I took a step toward the slab, my hand shaking, the Zippo's flame dipping low. "Lisa," I said, my voice breaking. The white-eyed creature's roar snapped me out of it, its claw. Swiping so close, I felt the air move. I dove behind the debris pile, the Zippo still burning, and clutched the grenade, my heart pounding. "You're not her," I shouted, tears stinging my eyes. The worms slithered over the pile, their slime sizzling, and I waved the Zippo, the flame keeping them at bay, but it was fading, the fuel running low. The slab's hum was deafening now, the blue light so bright it hurt, and Lisa's image flickered, her face twisting into something else, eyes red, mouth too wide, like the creatures. I had to decide: use the grenade, risk it being a dud, or keep running, hoping for another way out. The tunnels were blocked, the creatures too close, and the slab's voice was drilling into my skull, making it hard to think. I pulled the grenade's pin, my hands shaking, and held it tight, counting in my head. 1, 2, the white-eyed thing lunged, its claws scraping the debris, and I rolled away, the Zippo falling into the water, plunging me into near darkness, only the slab's blue light left. I threw the grenade at the slab, praying it'd work, and ran for the dark tunnel, the worms hissing behind me. The explosion rocked the chamber, a deafening boom that sent me sprawling, water splashing over me. The blue light flared, then dimmed, the hum stuttering, and the carvings stopped glowing, the walls shaking like the whole sewer was coming down. I scrambled up, my ears ringing, and saw the slab cracked, its light fading, but not gone, still pulsing weakly. The white-eyed creature screeched, its body glitching like it was tied to the slab, but it wasn't dead. It turned, its white eyes locking on me, and the worms surged forward, faster, angrier. The tunnel I'd run into was collapsing, stones falling, and the blue light flickered back to life, the voice returning, softer but sharper. "Jake, you can't stop us." I stumbled forward, my ankles screaming. No lighter, no pry bar, just my hands and the faint hope of finding a way out. The tunnel sloped upward, but the water was rising, and from the darkness ahead, a new sound started, a low, rhythmic thumping, like a heartbeat, coming from something alive, something waiting. The tunnel was collapsing around me, chunks of concrete crashing into the rising water as I ran, my boots splashing through the cold muck of the Chicago sewer. My Zippo was gone, lost in the explosion that cracked the Lee Bong Tea, and my pry bar was stuck in the great back in the ancient chamber. All I had was my Bagadi's Hardet, the 1940s notebook, and that army page about the Abyss Project bouncing against my hip. My ankle screamed from the worm thing's slime, the burn spreading up my leg, and my ears were still ringing from the grenades. Boom. The blue light from the slab had dimmed, its hum weaker, but that new sound a low, rhythmic thumping, like a giant heartbeat followed me, vibrating in my chest. Whatever I'd done to the core, it wasn't enough. Something was still alive, down here, and it was pissed. "Keep moving, Jake," I gasped, my breath ragged. The tunnel sloped upward, the air getting fresher, less like death. I could hear the faint rumble of a CTA train above, a sign I was nearing the city's surface. If I could find a manhole or a pump station, I'd be out, back in Chicago's. Rainy streets, away from these freaks. But the thumping was louder now, closer, and the water surged behind me, like something big was moving through it. I stumbled, my hands scraping the slimy walls, and caught a glimpse of graffiti bears. For life in the faint glow of the tunnel's emergency lights, flickering like they were on their last legs. Chicago, man, even down here. The sight gave me a spark of hope, but it died fast when the thumping turned into a growl, deep and guttural, not like the white-eyed thing or the worms. This was new, and it sounded hungry. I pushed forward, the tunnel widening into a concrete junction, pipes lining the walls, dripping with rust. A rusted sign bolted to the wall read Pump Station D3 minus 500 feet. My heart jumped. Pump stations had access ladders, manholes to the street. I was close, but the water was deeper here, up to my thighs, and it felt wrong thick, like it was alive, pulling at my legs. I slogged through, my ankle throbbing, and spotted something floating a spray paint can, like the one I'd used before, half submerged. I grabbed it, shaking it. It hissed, still good. Round two, I muttered, tucking it in my bag. The growl came again. Closer, and I froze, my eyes straining in the dim light. The emergency lights flickered, casting shadows that didn't match. The pipes or the walls, long, twisted, with too many arms. I backed up, my hands fumbling in my bag, and pulled out the 1943 Army page, hoping for answers. The ink was smeared, but a line stood out. The core binds them. Destroy it, or they'll spread. Great, so I'd cracked it, but didn't finish the job. Typical Jake, half-assing things, just like Lisa always said. Her name hit me hard. And the voice came back, not from the slab this time, but from the water itself. Jake, you failed me. It was Lisa, her voice soft, broken, like when she left me. I shook my head, tears burning my eyes. You're not real, I said, my voice cracking. But the water rippled, and I saw her reflection, not in a mirror, but in the muck, her face pale, her eyes glowing blue. Come back, Jake, she said, and the thumping heartbeat matched her words, like it was part of her. Screw you. I shouted, kicking the water, the image breaking apart. The growl turned into a roar, and I spun, the spray paint can in one hand, my bag in the other. The shadows moved, and I saw eat a new creature, different from the white-eyed one, shorter, but wider, its body shimmering like oil, with no clear shape. Its eyes were blue, not white, and it shifted, 1 second a hunched figure, the next a crawling mass of tentacles. It was changing, like it couldn't decide what to be. Hell no, I yelled, shaking the spray paint and spraying it in a wide arc. I didn't have the Zippo, but I grabbed a loose pipe from the wall, heavy and rusted, and smashed it against a sparking emergency light. The spark caught the paint mist, igniting a quick flash of flame. The creature screeched, its form glitching, and backed off. But the worms were here too, slithering through the water, their ember eyes glowing. I swung the pipe, hitting one, its slime splashing and burning my hand. I ran toward the pump station. Sin, the water slowing me down, the thumping so loud it drowned out my thoughts. The tunnel shook, more debris falling, and I heard Lisa's voice again, louder, coming from ahead now. Jake, don't leave me. I rounded a corner, the pump station's metal door in sight, its badge reader blinking red. I didn't have a badge, but I could pry it open had to. But the creature was faster. Its shape-shifting body blocking the door, now looking almost human, almost like Lisa. It stood there, its face hers, but wrong 2 smooth eyes, too blue. mouth stretching too wide. "You can't leave," it said, her voice layered with that ancient growl. The worms surged around it, their slime bubbling, and the thumping heartbeat filled the air, coming from the door, like the core was behind. It, still alive, still calling. The shape-shifting creature stood in front of the pump station door, its body shimmering like oil, wearing Lisa's face but wrong two smooth eyes, glowing blue, mouth stretching into a jagged grin. The Chicago sewers emergency lights flickered, casting its shadow across the slimy walls, and the worms slithered around it, their ember-like eyes glinting in the dark. The water was up to my thighs, thick and heavy, pulling at my burning ankle where the slime had eaten through my boot. My heart was pounding, my hands clutching a rusted pipe and a spray paint can, the only weapons I had left. The thumping heartbeat from behind the door was deafening, syncing with the blue light pulsing through the cracks. Like the Lee Bong Ti was still alive, still calling me. "Jake, you can't leave." It said, Lisa's voice layered with something ancient. "Hungry? No way, you're not her," I shouted, my voice echoing in the tunnel. My bag holding Eddie's Hardet, the 1940s notebook, and the army page about the Abyss Project felt heavy against my hip, a reminder of what I was fighting for. I wasn't just running from these freaks. I had to stop them, or they'd spread, like the page warned. But Lisa's face, even fake, hit me hard memories of her leaving, my screw-ups, the nights I chose the bottle over her. My eyes stung, but I shook it off. "You're just a trick," I growled, raising the pipe. The creature laughed, its mouth splitting wider, showing needle teeth, and it shifted, Lisa's form melting into something else taller, with too many arms, claws, glinting. The worms lunged, their slime sizzling in the water, and I sprayed the paint can, the red mist hissing out. I smashed the pipe against a sparking emergency light, the spark igniting the mist into a quick burst of flame. The worms screeched, curling back, and the creature flinched, its blue eyes dimming, but it didn't stop. It charged, claws swiping, and I dove to the side, the water splashing, my ankle screaming as I hit the wall. "Hell no," I yelled, swinging the pipe. It connected with the creature's arm, a wet crack echoing, and it hissed, its form glitching. Back to Lisa's face, her eyes pleading. "Jake, why?" it said, her voice breaking. I froze, just for a second, and a worm grazed my leg, its slime burning through my pants. I gritted my teeth, pain shooting up, and swung again, hitting the creature's chest. It staggered, but the heartbeat thumped louder, the door's badge reader blinking red like it was mocking me. I stumbled to the door, my hands shaking, and jammed the pipe into the gap, prying with everything I had. The metal groaned, but the creature was back, its claws scraping the concrete, and the worms were everywhere, their hisses drowning out the CTA train rumble above. I needed that door open, needed to get to the pump station, find a ladder, anything to get out. The army page said the Corps bound these things, maybe it was behind this door, and I could finish what the grenade started. The door budged, a crack, opening, and blue light poured out, brighter than before, the thumping so strong it shook my bones. I pried harder, the pipe bending, but the creature grabbed my bag, yanking me back. I twisted, spraying paint in its face, the red mist blinding it, and kicked a worm away, its slime splashing. The bag tore, Eddie's Hardet, and the notebook falling into the water. But I held onto the army page, stuffing it in my pocket. "You're not stopping me," I shouted, giving the pipe one last heave. The door swung open, and I fell into the pump station. A massive concrete room with rusted pumps and pipes humming faintly. The blue light was here, coming from a crack in the floor. Where the Lee Bong Ti sat a stone slab, bigger than the last, its carvings glowing, pulsing like a heart. The thumping was unbearable, vibrating in my chest, and the voice was deafening. "Jake, join us." It wasn't Lisa now, but Eddie, Martinez, Carver, all the guys who'd disappeared. Their voices layered, pulling at my mind. I scrambled, up my leg burning, and saw a ladder across the room, leading to a manhole cover. The word Wabash stenciled on it. Freedom, so close. But the creature was through the door, its form shifting now. Martinez, now a mass of tentacles, claws. Everywhere, the worms followed, their slime bubbling, and the slab's light flared, showing Lisa's face again, floating above it. "Jake, you belong here," she said, her eyes glowing blue. I grabbed a loose pipe from the floor, heavier than the last, and swung it at the creature, hitting its shoulder. It screeched, glitching, but kept coming, its claws grazing my arm. The pain sharp, but not deep. I sprayed the last of the paint, aiming for the worms, and ran for the slab, not to touch it, but to end it. The army page said, "Destroy the core." I had nothing left, no grenade, but maybe I could smash it. I raised the pipe, aiming for the slab's center, but the blue light surged, and the voices screamed, "No." Lisa's face twisted, becoming something else, eyes everywhere, mouths opening, the slab's carvings crawling onto the floor, wrapping around my boots. The creature roared, lunging, and the worms surged, their slime burning my legs. I swung the pipe, hitting the slab, a crack forming, but the light exploded outward. A wave of energy knocking me back, my vision blurring. I hit the ground, the pipe clattering, the ladder so close but out of reach. The slab's light pulsed, stronger, the carvings alive, crawling up the walls. And the creature stood over me, its form shifting to Lisa again, her hand reaching out. "Jake, stay." The thumping heartbeat was inside me now, pulling me toward the slab, like it was sucking me in, body and soul. The blue light from the Lee Bong Ti surged, pulling at me like a tide, its carvings crawling up my boots, alive and cold. I lay sprawled in the Chicago sewers pump station, my body aching, my ankle burning from the worm thing's slime. The shape-shifting creature loomed over me, its form flickering back to Lisa's face, my ex-wife, her eyes glowing blue, her smile wrong, too wide. The worms slithered closer, their ember-like eyes glinting, their slime sizzling in the knee-deep water. The thumping heartbeat from the slab filled my head, the voices of Eddie, Martinez, Carver, and Lisa blending into one, screaming, "Jake, stay." The ladder to the Wabash manhole was across the room, so close, but the core's energy held me like it was sucking my soul. My pipe and spray paint can were gone, my bag lost. But the army page about the Abyss project was still in my pocket. Its warning clear, destroy the core or they'd spread. "No way, man," I gasped, my voice weak but stubborn. "I'm getting out." My chest tightened. Memories of Lisauer fights, my drinking, her leaving flooding back, making it hard to think. The creature stepped closer, its claws glinting, and the worms hissed, their slime bubbling around my legs, burning through my pants. I clawed at the concrete, fighting the core's pull, my fingers scraping until they bled. The blue light flared, showing Lisa's face above the slab, her voice soft. "Jake, you belong here. You're not her," I shouted, tears stinging my eyes. I focused on the real Lisa, the way she'd laugh at my dumb jokes, the way she'd wait up when I worked late. That wasn't this thing. I pushed against the carvings, their cold grip loosening, and rolled away, the energy snapping like a broken wire. The creature screeched, its form glitching Lisa, then Martinez. Then a mass of tentacles and lunged, its claws grazing my shoulder. The pain sharp but not stopping me. I scrambled up, my legs shaky, and ran for the ladder, the worms surging. Behind me, the slab's hum grew louder, the blue light pulsing, and the voices screamed, "No." I grabbed a rusted wrench from a pump, heavy and cold, and swung it at a worm, its body bursting with a wet pop, the slime splashing but missing me. The creature was faster, its claws scraping the concrete, and I threw the wrench, hitting its chest. It staggered, glitching again, but the worms kept coming, their hisses deafening. The ladder was right there, the manhole cover stenciled Warbash. Above, a faint grey light seeping through dawn, maybe my only shot. I climbed, my hands slipping on the rungs, my ankles screaming. The creature roared, its tentacles wrapping around the ladder's base, shaking it. I kicked down, my boot hitting something soft, and it hissed, letting go. The worms slithered up the walls, their slime burning the metal, and I climbed faster. My breath ragged, the cores thumping still in my chest. Halfway up, I saw something on the wall, a scratched message, barely visible in the blue light. To surface, keep climbing, Eddie Torres. My heart jumped. He'd been here. Tried to escape. I gripped the rungs tighter, Eddie's hard at flashing in my mind, his name on that clod-up hat I'd found. "Thanks, man," I whispered, pushing on. The manhole was close, the grey light brighter, and I could hear Chicago waking up horns, the CTA train, the hum of life. But the core wasn't done. The blue light flared, and Lisa's voice hit me again, not from the slab, but inside my head. "Jake, you'll never leave." I froze, my hands shaking, and saw her reflection in the rungs, not the creature, but Lisa, real as ever, her eyes sad. "You left me," she said, and for a second I believed it, my guilt pulling me back. The creature's claws scraped below, the worms hissing, and the ladder shook, nearly throwing me off. "Shut up," I yelled, slamming my fist against the rung, the pain snapping me out of it. I climbed, faster, the manhole cover just above. I pushed, my shoulders straining, and it budged, cold air and rain hitting my face. Chicago's streets, wet and grey, were right there. Warbash, 5:50 a.m., dawn breaking. I was almost out, but the creature grabbed my boot, its tentacle cold and slick, yanking me down. I kicked, my other foot slipping, and hung on, my arms burning. The worms climbed the ladder, their slime sizzling, and the blue light surged, the voices screaming, "Stay." I saw the army page sticking out of my pocket, its words burning in my mind. Destroy the core. I'd cracked it, but it wasn't enough. The creature's Lisa face looked up, her eyes glowing, and I knew if I didn't end this, it'd follow me, or worse, spread to the city. I reached for the manhole, my fingers brushing the edge, but the core's energy pulsed again, stronger, and the thumping heartbeat felt like it was mine. The creature pulled harder, its claws digging into my leg, not cutting, but holding, like it wanted me alive. The blue light wrapped around me, Lisa's voice whispering, "You're ours." And for a second, I felt myself slipping, my hands loosening, the city fading above as the darkness below called me back. The creature's tentacle gripped my boot, cold and slick, yanking me down the ladder as I clung to the rungs, my fingers scraping the metal. The Chicago sewers, blue light pulsed below, the Lebong TS heartbeat thumping in my chest. Its carvings crawling up the walls like living vines. The worms hissed, their slime sizzling on the ladder, burning my legs. And the shapeshifters, facelesses, but twisted eyes, glowing blue, stared up at me, whispering, "Jake, stay." The Wabash manhole was inches away, grey dawn light seeping through. But the core's energy pulled at me, heavy, like it wanted my soul. My ankles screamed from the slime's burn. My shoulder ached from the creature's claws, and my hands were slipping. The army page in my pocket destroyed the core, my only guide. "No way you're done," I shouted, my voice raw. I kicked with my free leg, my boot slamming into the creature's face, its lisiform glitching, melting into a mass of tentacles. It screeched, loosening its grip, and I climbed, my arms burning, the worm's hisses chasing me. The blue light flared, the voices said Martinez, Carver, Lisa screaming, "You can't leave." I saw her again, Lisa's reflection in the manhole cover, her eyes sad, but I focused on the real her, the one I'd lost, not this lie. "I'm sorry, Lisa," I whispered, tears streaming, and pushed the cover with everything I had. The manhole popped open, cold rain and Chicago's morning air hitting my face. I hauled myself out, collapsing onto Wabash's wet pavement, horns blaring, the CTA train rumbling nearby. It was 6 a.m., dawn breaking, the city waking up. I rolled over, gasping, and saw the sewer below. The blue light dimmed, the creatures' eyes fading, the thumping heartbeat slowing, like the core was losing its hold. The worms slithered back into the dark, their hisses faint, and the manhole cover slammed shut, like the sewer itself was sealing. I lay there, soaked, my leg burning, my hands shaking, cars swerving around me. A taxi driver leaned out, yelling, "Yo, buddy, you okay?" I waved him off, stumbling to my feet, the army page crumpled in my pocket. I'd cracked the core, maybe hurt it, but it wasn't gone. The voices, the light, they'd followed me too long. I limped to a diner across the street, the smell of coffee and bacon grounding me, and sat in a booth, my hands still trembling. The waitress, a tired woman with a Cubs cap, gave me a look but brought me a coffee. No questions. I pulled out the army page, its ink smeared but readable. Abyss, Project, 1943. Core feeds on fear, binds them. Destroy it, or they'll spread. Beyond the city. I'd tried grenade, pipe, everything, but it was still down there, waiting. I thought of Eddie's hard-at, Martinez's body, Carver's grenade. They'd fought, and I'd made it out. But for what? The core knew my name, my pain. It used Lisa to get to me, and I wasn't sure I'd ever shake that days later. I quit the sewer job, couldn't even look at a manhole without my heart racing. I moved to a cheap apartment in the suburbs, far from the loop. But the nightmares didn't stop. Blue light, red eyes, Lisa's voice calling from the dark. I couldn't keep quiet. I typed up everything, every growl, every creature, every rule I'd learned. Don't use lights after midnight. Don't answer the voices. Run if you hear the heartbeat. I posted it on Reddit, our nosleep, under the title, "What's Under Chicago's Sewers?" I scanned the army page, added Eddie's name, and begged anyone reading to stay out of the tunnels. The post blew up, thousands of upvotes, comments calling it fake, but some workers, cabbies, CTA guys said they'd heard things too. Felt watched. I sent the page to a reporter at the Chicago Tribune, hoping they'd dig deeper, but the next day A news story called it a gas leak in the loop. No mention of creatures or cause. I wasn't surprised City Hall loved their cover-ups, but I kept checking my reflection, my shadow, always feeling like something was behind me. The core had marked me, and I knew it wasn't done. Weeks later, in the same sewers, a new worker, named Marcus, started his first night shift. He was young, cocky, laughing off the sewer folk stories the old-timers told. He climbed down a manhole near Randolph, his headlamp bright, his radio playing some hip-hop track. The tunnel was quiet, just dripping water and the hum of pumps. Then his light caught something, a bone, long and thin, carved with spirals, half buried in the muck. He crouched, curious, and the water rippled, a faint blue glow pulsing from a crack in the wall. Marcus's radio crackled. Not his crew, but a voice, low and hungry. "Marcus, come deeper," he laughed, thinking. It was a prank, but his headlamp flickered, and a shadow moved under the water, too big, too fast. He stood, his smirk gone, and checked his reflection in the water. It wasn't his face staring back. "All right, folks, that's the end of Beneath the Chicago Sewers. What did you think? Did Jake really escape, or is the core still watching him? And what about Marcus? Is he next?" Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've ever heard weird noises in your city, tell us, we're dying to know. Hit that like button if you got chills, subscribe for more creepy stories, and share this with your friends. Maybe they've seen something in the shadows too. Stay safe out there, and maybe avoid manholes at night. See you in the next one.